Hey, a recent study says that over 25% of home buyers do not understand or are not informed about closing costs. Are you one of the 25%? Let's find out. Hey guys, Brian Chandler, Remax Alliance, Parker, Colorado. Again, how are you? Oh, is that upside down? What? Anyhow, we're going to talk about closing costs today and see how informed you are about them. But before we do that, I'm going to get to the agreement here. There's a couple other things close to those clauses that I wanted to review with you. Depending on where your property is that you're buying, especially if it's rural, you want to know where the water is coming from. So you have a source of potable water, residential land and residential improvements only. The agreement here in Colorado says here, if you read buyer does or does not acknowledge receipt of a copy of the seller's property disclosure statement, which has the source of water in the seller's disclosure statement, or source of water addendum, which also discloses the source of the water. So if, as an example, the buyer does not acknowledge receipt, meaning he hasn't received the seller's property disclosure or the source of water, it's something you need to know. And in Colorado here, it's a law. However, in the contract, there is not a date or deadline to say the seller needs to provide the buyer with that. So contractually, if you just say, I don't acknowledge the receipt of a seller's disclosure or any kind of water disclosure, nothing in here says the seller must provide that to you and within a timely fashion. So that's important to know, especially if you're out rural and need to know where your water is coming from. Secondly, we're going to go to transfer of title policy. As I mentioned before, you need to have a very smart agent, someone who's seasoned, who is experienced, and who's familiar with the contracts. As I told you before, we go through our agreement every week and we mark it up and discuss it and see the different things that would affect our clientele. So it's important that you have a realtor who understands that too. And here's the thing to ask them: if they know the difference between a specialty warranty deed and a general warranty deed. Let me explain the difference. A general warranty deed takes back a search for title all the way back to the beginning of the property historically. A special warranty deed only takes back the history of the current owner of the property. So you have no history beyond that, which sometimes could be very important for you to have that. And the way this agreement is worded here, it says, unless otherwise specified, if title will be conveyed using a special warranty deed or general warranty, title will be conveyed subject to statutory exceptions. So it really says the default is that they're going to use a special warranty deed unless you specify otherwise. So it's good that you understand that and that your realtor understands that. Now we're going to get into closing costs. Closing costs. Now, at the onset of this video, I told you that 25% of buyers are not informed about closing costs. So I don't know where you fall in there exactly, but let's delve into it and try to get you informed, Toss. What's important to know about closing costs is one, that you're being charged accurately. So it's up to the seller to go over the closing statement, I mean the seller's agent, but your buyer's agent needs to go over those as well. You need to understand them also because there's a whole slew of different charges here that might be paid by the seller, paid by you, the buyer, or split in half. So we have a letter of status from the homeowners association. Who's going to pay for that? It goes back and defaults back to the contract. So you have to go back and look at the contract, make sure that the closing officer or escrow officer has done their calculations properly. You have a local transfer tax. You have a private transfer tax. You have water transfer fees. If it's a water district and they may charge to transfer the property into your name from the previous owner. So how is that done? Who pays for that? Sales and use tax. You have a whole slew of different things, homeowners fees, loan fees, loan origination fees, broker's fees, a variety of things that's very important for you to keep track of. Keep all these closing costs in a safe place where you know where they are and you can access them, whether digitally or in paper or both. So why it's important? Because if you buy a property today and you decide to hold on to it for a long period of time, let's say 10 years, and that property has gone up in value considerably, you decide to sell it, you are liable for capital gains. If that property has gone up in value, they're going to take what the sales price was when you bought it and the sales price was when you sold it. However, other costs come into play, and that would be your closing costs of buying and your costs of selling. Those would all be calculated into your capital gain on that property. And why that's important is because you'll have to pay tax on capital gain if it's in excess of 125,000 if you're single, and if you're married, it's 250,000 if you file jointly. So that's important for you to be able to keep track of these costs. If you move and you're able to defer that gain by moving into another home and moving into another home, this all can come back and track back to you at some point in time when you're getting ready to retire and you are selling a home and you've got $600,000 equity in your home, and you're saying, well, do I have to pay tax on that? And they're like, well, some of it. What's excluded now? Back in 1997, they changed the law allowing for these 125 and 250,000 exemption from capital gains for homeowners. So once again, very important that you understand your closing costs, what they are, that they're calculated accurately, and that you have a knowledge of where you can access those 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now when you have to go back and talk to your accountant and determine if you have to pay taxes or not. Anyway, that's it for today. It's Brian Chandler, Remax Alliance Parker, checking out. Until next time, take care. Have a good day. Dang it. Once again, I forgot to plug my own website, briansells.us. You can go here, and this has some local searches here around Parker, Castle Rock, Lone Tree. But you can also go ahead and do property searches, work with me, get home evaluation, market updates, various services, contact, and such. So come and visit my site. Another site I have also is homesellers.us. And this also has the ability to do search, do home valuation, contact. I'm happy to consult with you. I don't care where you're located. If you need some help, you have some questions, you like some advice for free, give me a call, shoot me an email. Happy to help you. This also has some buyer and seller reports, which are really cool. There are over 30 pages in these reports. And the nice thing about these reports is they have checklists. If you're a buyer or a seller, it takes you through the process and say, okay, these are things you need to be aware of, and these are things you need to go through and check off and make sure they're done so you have a proper transaction and protect yourself as best you can. So that's about it. Visit my websites. I'll see you next time. Brian Chandler, Remax Alliance, Parker, Colorado. Checking out.